Necrobuster.
Napalm Death is it gets called a political band.
Salvation of what I see in others.
When you go camping, you get to see the Milky Way galaxy.
Punk rock type attitude too. We're just going to try to, gross you out with our music.
Yo, what's up? This is John from Noise Dosage Media, bringing you some of the most innovative and unique extreme metal musicians on air to have an in-depth conversation about things you probably didn't know until now. Before we unravel this episode, we want to bring attention to our driving force of visual creativity. Begrudgingly Benny creates one-of-a-kind creatures that you can't find anywhere else but below. His focus is on old-school style, slimy stippling that is budget-friendly for all bands or tattoo desired. Stay updated on the sludge by following at begrudgingly_Benny on Instagram. Withered Designs raises the dead with pen and ink and gives them new life with acidic color. Withered is eager to accompany your next album, merchandise, or zine with new, kick-ass, necromantic artwork. Keep up with the Horde by following him at Withered_Designs on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in, and let's dive into this.
Zetro, what's up, man?
What's up, man? This call is now being recorded for your...
Yeah. It's funny
What's
because...
what's the idea of Google? Why do you do that? So it records the call so you could...
Yeah, so I can automatically put it on the podcast.
Oh,
but yeah, I don't really do phone interviews much. I do it like either like Zoom or Zencast or whatever. But this is cool.
Is your show a video show?
No, it's just audio right now.
To me, I've been in the game too long, and that's not necessary. So unless you got a video show, I'm not big on it. This way I can walk around my house and do what I need to do without being locked in front of a screen because someone like
Exactly.
has 8 of these fucking things to do back to back. You know what I mean? And I can't stand the screen. That's why to me, I told Nuclear Blast, I told my management, no Skype or Zoom unless you're fucking Chris Jericho or Dee Snider. Okay? I'm sorry, with all due respect, and unless you have a credible webcast that has 50,000 followers, I don't want to be on video. I just don't.
There's really no. I mean, like for me, a podcast is supposed to be like a car experience. You know what I mean? And like, so I'm filming a documentary, so like that is obviously gonna have video. But people don't really watch like Zoom interviews. Like they watch what you do because it's more of like a show. You know?
Right. Well, that's why I did that like that. And my whole thing was they were up my ass for a couple of years. I don't know if you know Creature Feature guys, the guy who I did this Creature Feature thing with, and he was like, you wanted me to do a podcast? And I'm like, no. Everybody can grab a mic and an audio fucking input thing and do that. I go, if I'm going to do it, I want to do a show with a cool set and that. And so I do a show with a creepy set, and you know what I mean, and that's a whole different thing, you know what I mean, it's a whole, and for that, it's like people like, hey Zed, I want to do your show Skype or on Zoom. I go, you can't, you have to come, my show's done with the person sitting in the cross, so they can see
the crosshairs.
You can see the facial expressions, you can see the laughs, you can see, watch my Rob Dukes interview, that's 7 parts of compelling shit there because we don't leave any stone unturned. We talk about it all, you know?
You know what I love about that show is like, you know, I was watching your interview with like, I wouldn't even call it an interview. Let's first start it off with that.
They're not.
They're not interviews. They're far from it.
Questions during a conversation. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I think like people should look at these things nowadays because nobody wants the formal question. But I was watching your conversation with Lars and like you guys really go deep into stuff and like my first thing is really a lot about this show. Really like what do you think is like the biggest learning curve that you've had to adjust to, you being a vocalist versus like, you know, being a radio, I wouldn't even call it like a TV show host?
I'm a front man, so that went hand in hand. I'm not afraid of the crowd. I'm not afraid. I know, to be honest with you, even with Exodus or with any band that I play in my AC/DC Tribute, Patriot, Tenet, Dublin Death Patrol, when the song is over and the other 4 guys go back to tune and get water, that's my solo time now. And I never want to get it. never leave dead air. There's a lot of sets. I'll go an hour and 15 minutes and not have a drink of water because I'm singing or on stage performing, and after the song I'm talking. And I always thought that if somebody watches you take a drink of water, that's cheesy. You should be performing up there the whole time. You never saw Gene Simmons over and grab a bottle of water, open it, and drink it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like zip lining during that time.
Things I'm saying. So to me, the show never stops. So say we're going to run the first 3 songs and then there's a break. I know exactly what I'm going to say to the crowd. I'm walking out to greet them, what's up, and bring in the next song. So the next song starts. So there's never, oh, song's over. Okay, singer's going back, wiping his face off, grabs a bottle, comes up, says, hey, what's up? Okay, this next song is, what's that all about? And I'll do that. I never have. So going into the show was I had no problem talking into the camera. What you have to remember when you have a guest is that there's a third person in the room. I always say to my guests, remember that there's actually a third person in the room. So a lot of times you'll see me, I'll talk to you, and then I'll look over at the camera like I'm acknowledging the person that we're all in here together. But my hardest thing, and I came up with it real quick, was how was I going to interview? And because I don't have any time restraints on my show, if it turns into 8 hours, I'll turn into an 8-hour Forbidden Craigslist Cicero interview. I want to get the story from you. How did it start? Where did it start at? And when I started doing that, then that's where I knew that's where I had it. So if you watch any of my interviews with Matt Freeman, with Lars, with any of the...
Yeah, you got multiple parts.
I start from the beginning. Okay, so what was it? Was it your older brother that was listening to Black Sabbath? How did you get into this shit? You know what I mean? When you talk to Chris, he talks about his parents taking him to Led Zeppelin and John Bonham looking up at him and going, hey, kid, and he's actually got a picture of it. You know what I mean? So those are the kind of stories that people are not going to get, but so much more interesting and compelling than the fucking normal question. You understand?
Yeah.
So, Steve, tell us what it's like to, who gives a fuck what it's like? It's like, I do those. I mean, they'll pollute me with 8 interviews, and honestly, 3 of them are decent conversation. And the last week and a half, you're the first American voice I've heard. I just did Italy. And it's like, I pretty much have to concentrate on everything they have to say, because them and the French will not learn English. They won't.
Right.
It's just so hard to understand. And so I try to be cool to everybody, because I can't stand the rock star, the musician that's a dick. I can't stand that guy.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm famous now, so you know who I am. You know what? Yeah, fuck you. Go suck a dick. You're gonna die like everybody else. So go fuck yourself. So
I love that. That's a good motto.
That's why when you emailed me, I said, look, I can't take your interview on, but if you go through the proper channels, because I've done that before, and then I got my label and fucking my management yelling at me going, why did you do that interview? Because the guy wanted me to do it. Isn't more press better than no press? Yeah, but they need to be cleared before us. For good, okay, fine. That's what I'm saying. So anybody who comes like to my shop talk, just go through these 2 morons. I can guarantee you, Kristen and Mungie will. That's what they do. They'll find you on the schedule and put you on there, and that's how you got it. If you're hard enough to go to me with an email, you've done some homework. You get the prize. Is the fucking way I look. I don't look at myself as anything more than anything else. I really don't. I don't, and I know people do, but I don't. So I'm on everybody's level. Believe me. I love when somebody goes, "Who are you, dude?" I look at them and go, I'm absolutely nobody, so don't worry about it. If you don't know who I am, I'm not going to sit here and go into it. I'm no one. Who are you, man?
I love that, man. Like because I was hanging out with Danny Lilker, and he kind of had the same mindset. Like I love him, my boy. Dude, Danny is such the guy. Like he's literally just chugging beers, and he's like, dude,
down to earth since day one.
And I was talking to him about, starting like the genre basically of the style of music he plays, and he's like, I don't want to sound like an egotistical dick, but like this is I started some of this.
Okay, check it out. That scene would not be the scene without fucking SOD record, period. Okay? Everybody fucking knows that. And that's what I'm saying. So to me, and you can't kick nuclear assault out of bed either. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's right. If you want to say yes, the innovators of this were the guys that were there Fucking A, he was. My first trip to New York of Exodus in 1986. A month after I joined the band, I'm 22 years old. I'm headlining the L'Amours, and who's supporting us? Nuclear Assault. They didn't. I heard about. I love chocolate. I love anything candy or chocolate. So, you know what a Yoo-hoo is?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, you can't get a Yoo-hoo at that time. You could not get Yoo-hoos in California. They did not exist. So,
right.
Danny took me. I remember meeting him, and he goes, "Yeah, very nice to meet you." I looked at him. He goes, and I go, "You know what I want, man? I fucking want a Yoo-hoo." He goes, "You want a Yoo-hoo, Zetro?" And Danny, I mean, after 10 minutes of knowing him, me and him walked out in Brooklyn, walked to a fucking liquor store, and he bought me a chocolate Yoo-hoo. And he was so happy that he bought me. I remember the story. I've got a memory like an elephant. I remember a lot of things. And I remember he bought me my first Yoo-hoo. Now, obviously, you can get a Yoo-hoo anywhere. But in those days, in 86, I heard of him. I always wanted to try a Yoo-hoo. I heard it's a chocolate. Because, I mean, I lived on fucking Hershey syrup and milk. I mean, fuck, my mother was like, "Oh my God, Steven, can you make your chocolate milk any more black?" And I like it like chocolate. In fact, at McDonald's, if I get a chocolate shake at a place like that, I have to tell them, if you have control of how much chocolate goes in it, dump it. Just to make that it can be black. That's how I love dark, bitter chocolate. I can eat it that way. And so, that's the story for me and Dan Lilker. First Yoo-hoo ever.
That's awesome, man. I'll have to ask him that the next time I see him. They're actually playing a show like in Rochester in like a month. And
Brutal Truth or
Nuclear Assault.
Nuclear Assault.
Yeah.
Who's with it? Is it John, Danny, Glenn, and what's his name? The guitar player.
Eric Burke.
Eric. Yeah, Eric. Good. That's nuclear. That's definitely Nuclear Assault. I mean, Anthony Bramante was the first guitar player, but Eric's been there for a long time. So
yeah, he's the man. Because he's just crazy to watch. Like Brutal Truth. I'm a guitar player myself, so watching him play is just mind blowing.
Oh yeah. Good
but all right, so back to Exodus, right?
Let's get back to Capcom, right?
Yeah. So this seems like a pretty bland question, but what are you most excited about for the future of Exodus? I mean, like, your band has achieved so much. Like, what haven't you done that you want to like go after?
You were one of the press people that probably did not get the record, did you? Or did you get the record?
I did not get the record yet.
Okay. See, that's the thing is, you came in the back door to get the interview. The ones that actually can get on Nuclear Blast have already heard the album. So,
boy.
That they have released. Every interview I have done has been with somebody who has heard the full record already, and every single one of them are telling me it's album of the year. So to let you know, in about 6 weeks, if you think those two good, and I'm going to be honest with you, I love Clickbait and Beatings. That's fucking right in the vein of Exodus, but those aren't even near the two best songs on the record. All I can say, they're not even near the two best songs on the record. So, and I think every song kicks ass, but I didn't think you got to hear it. But I would say the thing to look forward to is our future right now, because we are hitting on all cylinders right now. Our drummer's 100% cancer free. He's back in the mix. We have to play Aftershock Festival next Thursday in Sacramento with Anthrax and Testament and Death Angel and Cypress Hill. Can you believe that as a headliner?
Wow.
I know. And then the next day is Metallica, and the next day is the Misfits, and then Sunday's Metallica again. It's a 4-day festival they do in Sacramento. That's like a European festival. There's 1 million bands on it. Everybody from, you can think Machine Gun Kelly, I mean, the Offspring, fucking Rancid. Everybody's on this fucking festival.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, it just by you saying that Metallica is back just brings me hope for music in the future. Like,
they've been playing shows. They did a show at a club in San Francisco called The Independent.
That's what I mean. Like, Metallica is one of like the biggest band. They always have stadiums, right? And with the pandemic, I was like, Metallica ain't gonna play for like at least another 4 years, 5 years,
Everybody's back. They're back. They're figuring it out. we're just going to have to work through it. You're just going to have to keep getting it until the antibodies in your body build up, or you don't get it anymore, or whatever. But I just, it's one of those things where if you keep running from this thing, it's not going to do you any good. So I really don't like to delve into religion, politics, and COVID, but that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. So, is there anything? I've been told some funny things off of this question of just like things that bands haven't reached, like going to Antarctica or like traveling to places like unknown, right? Is there anywhere that you haven't been with Exodus that you wanted to tour to?
We haven't been to South Africa. We haven't been to Africa yet. We almost were going to play in Egypt a couple of years ago. And then we're like, the promoter's kind of shady. They're like, well, Sepultura's going first. Let's see what happens to them. And then they went and got fucked over. We're like, okay, good. That was a good move. We didn't do that.
Wow.
I'd like to go to South Africa. I don't know if Antarctica really has, unless you're a Metallica size, because I know what they played, and I believe it was like 5,000 people. I mean, and that's a lot for Antarctica. So
yeah.
a band go there. You understand? We're
right.
not gonna draw enough that it would make it smart enough to be able to fly to Antarctica, to get in a plane for them to set up a venue, and us to come in. There wouldn't be enough people going. If Metallica's drawn 5,000, it was some small number. Might maybe been 10 or 15, but it was like, it wasn't the normal Metallica number. You know what I mean? So
right, 5 million.
Right. So, we played with them before. We did what's that festival? There was one in Munich, Rock and Ring in Munich, the Olympic Stadium, and 93,000. 93,000.
Holy crap!
Holy shit! These guys are bigger than fucking, and the fans are mesmerized by them, bro. And they love everything they do. And they're singing it. And I'm just looking at the crowd. And exit light and denied. The whole fucking time. James just stops. And you could probably hear it for 4 miles. Off to Never, Never Land. The whole fucking crowd. I'm like, yeah. Boy. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the big four, no. It's the big one and the other three, definitely, if we're going to use that term. Oh my. Because they're just, again, so for them to play in front of 15,000. I went to Reykjavik, Iceland.
Okay.
Not big in being cold, bro. Not big in being
cold. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm from Buffalo, dude. I'm always freezing. And you're going to be freezing when you come to your tour. Because it's going to be cold.
I know. It's cold. It's cold. Ugh. I know,
it's
but
horrible.
We got to move it on.
So when we were talking about Zetro's Toxic Vault, I missed the idea of, you interview a lot of people, right? And it's awesome. But is there anybody that you are like killing to have on the show? Like you were just talking about Kiss, like Paul Stanley. Like, would you ever go for something like that?
Would not, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have any. My show is not built for that. You understand? My show, I think the meat and potatoes of my show is I get the Blind Illusions, the bass player for Forbidden. You know what I mean? I get the guys that aren't really necessarily going to get anything, but still have an amazing story to tell and still have, stories to tell and still come from an angle where they, should be, people are interested in, it's not just the two stars in the band. It's not just all about Slash and Axl. You know what I mean?
Right,
we want to
right.
You know what I mean? What is their take on everything? So I that's what I think I get. What's good about my show? Nor would I love to get someone of that caliber? Sure. But you know what I mean? Yeah, you don't always, the level I'm at, I'm cool with the guests that I get. I think they're interesting enough for that. There's not a forum or a platform for that, I guess. So that's why for me, it works out really cool. I had an episode this week where I interviewed these guys, and the episode did not do that well at all. Probably, I think my lowest views ever. I can go on live for 5 minutes and get more than these but it was just created another episode. It wasn't just like another angle of like what I do. It was about these guys who take marijuana and they extract the oil from it and make oil out of it now. And we had a little bit of couldn't show all of the process because it's really illegal to do that. You can't video.
Yeah. You'll be teaching kids how to do it.
So by talking to them, it was like, after I watched the interview, I was like, boy, I wasn't even that, even though I love to smoke weed and they're cool guys, it wasn't too hard to understand because they're chemists. So the snorter's going, So I was just going, And I'm like, yeah. Well, so that's a learning curve for me. I know probably not going to do that again. You know what I mean? So it's
right.
It did do well. Meat and potatoes are the interviews of obviously the Bay Area people that I get in, or the other people like Lars and stuff like that that I can spend the time with to get into the meat and potatoes, how their head is ticking, what's going in their brain. I want you to know, as the viewer, not just the listener, the viewer, after the episode of the interview, that you have a good perspective of what that person is all about. And it's not about answering questions. It's about getting the guy's personality, what made him the musician, or what put them in that seat across from me, and why I'm doing that. That's where my meat and potatoes kind of comes from, I think.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I totally respect that, man, because I started doing this like a year ago. I've talked to like 100 people, and 100 people, and most of the times that I get feedback is when the conversations are just kind of off the cuff. Everybody's like, I like that episode. I'm like, why? I didn't set anything up. Like I didn't come up with any like topics.
Genuine is the best thing when you get questions like when I do an interview. So Steve, is it true that Kirk Hammett once played in Exodus? It's like, interview over. You know what I mean? Really? You're going to throw that at me? You know what I mean? Come on. Do your homework a little bit more. Just don't take advantage of the spotlight. Know what you're doing. So like when I have a guest on, I do a thorough, I read up on that person, or what. If they have a book, I read it. If they do something, I find out about them. They don't come on my show and the producer handing me a sheet going, okay, this guy. It's like, I'll ask producer 3 days before, who am I having on? Okay, cool. But I knew about Lars. Most of the dudes I do know, but some of them I don't. Like I had Jason Saliga on. He plays with Black Star Riders, which was used to be Thin Lizzy kind of, and he was in what was that other band? He was in another huge fucking band. And anyway, I had him, and I didn't know much about him, so I had to go and do some research and have some people send me some stuff about him. And then I so when I'm talking to him, I'm going, so I know things, so it doesn't sound like I'm talking. So so you got together with these guys and this, and so I know. And then this record came out, and then this, and you played with them on that. And I asked him some question, and he said, oh my God, nobody's ever asked me about that before. I'm like, yeah, well, this is all about you. They usually are going to ask you the 10 questions that they skim over the top, basically, so.
Yeah. So here's something. I found out something I didn't know about you. You're into professional wrestling and motocross, right? And
I used to be into motocross a lot. I watch it, but I'll still go to the Supercross but I love it. It's actually, I ride a Harley. I have my whole life.
You got a Harley, huh?
Yeah, I'm a totally custom 2006 Dynaglide. It's beautiful. It's all been painted with all the classic horror monsters on it, done really, really nice. I have it tuned and powder coated, and everything on the bike is completely custom. So I'm a rider, but
okay.
Yeah, definitely more into I'm definitely into wrestling since I was a little kid. I've always been into wrestling. Yeah.
Now, if you had a tune to pick from Exodus to put on a WWE show, what would be the wrestler and what would be like the song? What do you think would fit?
Definitely Blacklist.
Okay.
And Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes, one of the best.
Sure.
So
he was always an asshole. His character was like he didn't care. Flipped you off. You know what I mean? He just went crazy, did what he wants. Drank beer.
He's got to come back.
The character was amazing. Oh, who knows? Maybe Jericho will bring him back. Jericho's bringing everybody back in AEW. Smartest man in wrestling.
Yeah. So motocross, you said that you ride like a Harley. When did you actually get into that?
My father was a biker, so 1968.
Okay.
My father rode a Harley. He was a biker. That was his life. So my house, my whole childhood, my lifestyle, the house that I grew up in was all depicted by how a biker lives his life. So then in the night, he wouldn't even, at that time I wanted to ride a dirt bike, but my father rode a Harley. He wouldn't allow any Japanese motorcycles in his garage, and Harley didn't make a dirt bike. So I remember I used to sneak one. Me and my brother had one, and we used to keep it at this friend of mine's house. And we only had it for like 6 months, and we sold it. But we bought it. If he would have knew we had it, he would have been pissed because he was like, we couldn't. He didn't even want us to have like Japanese cars. We had to have like American cars and shit. My dad was all about.
Okay.
So I couldn't have a dirt bike. And then in the early '90s, I had my own family, and I bought a CR250, and I started riding dirt, and that's when I became a very good rider, I think, on there. So now I ride a Harley really good because I rode dirt first, actually. You know, not dirt, but I mean, not first, but I rode dirt. And I rode Harleys as a kid, and then in the early 90s, and then I sold my Harley and bought a dirt bike, and then a few years ago, I bought Harley. I got back into the street bike again, but much better rider now because I do ride dirt. I rode dirt.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got a dirt bike right now, and eventually I'd like to get a motorcycle, but yeah, a Harley would definitely be the way, for sure. So the last really big thing that I love to cover with metal guys, it's kind of an oddball question, but you know, how has this style of music made a significant positive impact on your life today? A lot of people, they look at metalhead dudes and they're like, oh, they're pissed off at the world. You know, they're just angry people. And, yeah, that's a good one for you.
I'm not, you know, it's funny, and I'll give you this as an example because we are, that moniker or stereotype is very, present in all of us because what do you think when somebody walks up and goes, Slayer? You understand? That's the mentality. But you know, I go all around the world and I play, and I've been fortunate enough to play on 70,000 tons of metal. It's a cruise.
Oh yeah, I wish I could be on there.
From 3 days out of Florida, it's sold out every single year. You got to buy your tickets. If you wait too long, you won't get a cabin. So that's basically how it is. And so the last time I played it, I was going in because the artists go in a gate for us to get checked in, the musicians, and where I'm going in, and the lady because they have 100 people there, you know, directing you around, telling you where to go. You could be an absolute moron and get on the boat, you know what I mean? So they're like, oh, no, this way, sir. So I said, how are you today? I'm all good. So are you ready to play this cruise? I'm all, yeah. I go, are you ready? So, yeah. I go, let me ask you, do you dread us on this boat? She goes, honestly, no, I don't. And this was a black lady talking to me. She goes,
oh, wow.
I do not dread you guys on this boat. I go, okay, who's the worst? Because I know everybody has. So she goes, you want to know who the worst are? The hip-hop and the rappers. They're the worst. They want to bring drugs and guns on the boat, and it's just a mess, and there's fights, and shit gets broken. He's, oh, yes, so they're by far the worst. And what is the style of music that the world just is enamored with? That crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure.
We're stereotyped as these awful people, but then they said, the lady told me on the 4-day cruise, on the heavy metal cruise, nobody ends up in the brig. She's, oh, we have to have sometimes boats come by to pick the people up because there's so many people that are being arrested on the ship for acting stupid. You know what I mean? I'm all, really? So, oh, yeah. So, but that's the music that's on your award shows. That's the music that everybody loves. That's the music that all the kids are listening to. So where's the bad influence there? So that's why I'm saying I'm fine with me because my new record is full of angst and aggression and violence and all kinds of social and religious and topics of today that are going on. You know what I mean? Things that are from a very angry point of view. So if that's the way it be, so be it. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer to that. I mean, like, it blows my mind. Like, every since the day I started doing this, and probably the day that you started your show, and you started getting into metal, like, you probably have made so many friends and so many memories.
Oh God!
You know, it's crazy.
I could write a book the size of the Bible, really, bro. I mean, honestly, there's so many, and it's still being created. So I don't have, you know, it's not like I'm going to write the book or anything. I'm still writing the book. I'm still living it. So no reason to write two of them. I'm just going to write one when it's time.
Right on. You're going to be writing with it in Buffalo. I can't freaking wait. I really can't.
Right.
It's going to be an awesome show.
Cool.
Next month. But, hey man, I appreciate, you hopping on, and, yeah, have a good tour, and I wish you best with the newest record that is gonna blow people's minds. I can't fucking wait.
November 19th, you're gonna remember this conversation and go, "God damn, he was right." That's why it melt my face. So,
yeah,
all right,
man.
John, have a great weekend, my friend. Good luck.
Hey, you too. See ya.
You got it. Take care.